A lot of us grew up only hearing about Festac 77. For starters, I wasn't even born then. It was a gathering that united the entire black race in Nigeria to, among other things, celebrate cultural diversity. With over 300 distinct ethnic nationalities, Nigeria remains a beautiful representation of diversity. But then, have we explored the potentials of the cultural market inherent in Nigeria? And what will a repeat of Festac mean for Nigeria, Africa, and the entire black race? We'll be finding that out in the course of the program. My name is Leah Katung-Babatunde, welcoming you to this very exciting episode. Don't forget that if you are a creative, you will need to stick around to know the policies guiding that space. And we have for you our complimentary segment, Simplified Is and Local Commodities Market. We're streaming on YouTube at Saban Media Services. So come along with me. And before we get into the business of the day, let's walk you through the trend table.
The Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS) has apologized over an Easter message that didn't sit well with members of the Christian community. The FIRS, in a statement by Daria Adekombi, Special Advisor Media to the Chairman, acknowledged a statement by the Christian Association of Nigeria (CAN) about the flyer posted on the social media platforms of the service with the headline, "Jesus paid your debts, not your taxes." He said the FIRS, as a responsible agency, has no religion and will not bring down any religion or offend the sensibilities of adherents of various faiths in the country, and thereafter apologized to CAN and Christians who felt offended at the unintended consequence of the message put out on Easter Sunday. Axis Bank has reported losses of 6.15 billion naira in 2023 to fraud and forgery, up from 1.44 billion naira in 2022. The bank, in its consolidated and separate financial statements report for the year that ended on December 31st, 2023, identified 6,771 attempts, the highest in 2023, were made for electronic fraud and USSD, involving a total of 2.69 billion naira, but the total loss was only 92.2 million naira. Fraudulent transfers, withdrawals, and reactivation cost 80% of the loss, followed by embezzlement 29%, which included cash theft, suppression, pilferage, dry posting, as well as electronic fraud and USSD 9%. While customers say Access Bank is not the only institution facing this dilemma, it is the only one to publicly acknowledge the consequences. The Association of Corporate and Marketing Communication Professionals of Banks, ACAMB, say while Nigerian banks are globally regarded as safe, resilient and thriving, there is always room for growth. This is in reaction to release of the circular of the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) on the banking sector recapitalization. As Nigeria seeks to aggressively unlock its innate potential to become a global emerging economy, the association say banks must also stand ready to play their crucial roles of financial intermediation. Rashid Bolarinwa, president of the ACMB, in a statement noted that the import of recapitalization is that Nigerian banks are safe and reliable, and the Apex Bank, in its developmental mandate, is leading the banks to strengthen their capacities to meet competitive domestic and global financial needs. Forbes has listed Nigerian businessmen Aliko Dangote, Mike Adenuga, Abdulsamad Rabiu, and Femi Otedola as the top richest Nigerians in 2024, although they lost a combined $3.2 billion last year. Forbes' real-time billionaires release early this week show that the combined wealth of Nigeria's top 3 richest businessmen dropped by 11.23% to $25.3 billion. The 3 Nigerians are the President Chief Executive of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, BUA Group Chairman Abdulsamad Rabiu, and Globacom boss Mike Adenuga. Nigeria's Dangote oil refinery has started supplying petroleum products to the local market in what has been described as a major step towards attaining energy independence for Nigeria. Dangote's group executive, Deva Kumar Edwin, confirmed shipping of diesel and aviation fuel into the local market. The refinery is Africa's largest and has a 650,000 barrels per day refining capacity. The federal government, through the Debt Management Office (DMO), has offered for subscription the April 2024 savings bond scheduled to close today. DMO announced that the 2-year federal government savings bond will be issued at 17.046% per annum, while the 3-year federal government savings bond will be issued at 18.046% per annum. Savings bonds are investment instruments for trustees under the Trustee Investment Act that enjoy tax exemption privileges for pension funds in accordance with stipulations outlined in both the Company Income Tax Act and Personal Income Tax Act.
The Center for Black African Arts and Civilization, CBAAC, was conceived post a festac 77. It has for decades researched, among other things, contributions of Black and African peoples to the global civilization, conversations on the policy action along with the deliberate quest to build a creative economy is next. Aisha Adamu Augie is the Director General of the Center for Black African Arts and Civilization, CBAAC. She joins me this episode, of course, to drive through the waters of the creatives industry and what the center has to offer to Nigerians. You're welcome, Aisha, to the program.
Thank you so much, Leah. Thank you. I'm so honored to be here.
Yeah, great. You are a creative, and it's been your life. Perhaps if you could just walk us through how the sector has been with you and what role it has played in molding who you are, the brand Aisha Augie.
Oh, thank you. I think if you ask very different people, they would say different things about me, but I identify as a creative first, and growing up, I had a love for photography, for film, for art. And I decided to make a choice later on in life to be known for one thing within the creative space, which was photography, mainly because there was a gap in northern Nigeria, especially for female photographers. So when I'm asked what I do, I say I'm a photographer first, a public servant, a politician, the many P's, But as a creative, I have had the opportunity to be an entrepreneur. I have had the opportunity to serve in different spaces. And I also had a background in journalism, mass communication. That added my strength when it comes to storytelling and narrative setting, agenda setting, things like that. I've had the opportunity to serve in the public space in the last 8 years. I advised the governor of my state and I advised the former Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning. And today I'm honored to have become the Director General of the Center for Black and African Arts and Civilization. So it's an honor as a former creative, because I'll say former. I'll forever be a creative. No, never. Yeah. Never former. I just painted just last week.
You are DG of an institution that is relatively unknown to a greater proportion of Nigerians. And I'm sure you must have heard this somewhere. This is not the first time you're hearing. So perhaps if you could speak to what the center stands for. I mean, Nigerians deserve to know this, right?
Yes, I always laugh when I hear that, because the only way Nigerians get to remember the agency is when you say festac 77. So Center for Black Arts got the mandate. The act was created in 1979 after the festac 77, which was a festival that brought the whole of Black and African artists.
Okay, so if I may get you right, the center is an offshoot of the festival.
Yes, it was actually the discussions before the act was way before 1979, right? And Nigeria united all of Black and Africa. When we say Black, there are some communities that are Black, but not African. Okay. And then the African community. We had all Black and African representatives in Nigeria in 1977. And it was such a beautiful thing. Imagine unifying the entire world of Black and African people under one roof. CBAAC was created and given the mandate to preserve everything that came to Nigeria for festac 77, promote and remind the rest of the world about our contributions to arts and civilization.
So if you could speak much more about the mandate of CBAAC and, of course, what Nigerians stand to benefit.
And our contributions to arts and civilization, we continue to promote that, to preserve our history and all of the items that came to festac 77, which is everything from books to film, music, art, old school movies. Like, there's so many things in our archive. So we're supposed to preserve those items. Obviously, teach people about these things, because it's important to know our history and our civilization, where we were, where we are, and where we need to go, right? And then obviously to remind the younger people of a time when Nigeria united the world. And our hope is we continue to do that. We're doing that already with our musics and our film, and our fashion. The whole world knows at least one Nigerian for either of these things. So we're supposed to continue promoting that and building on that. And obviously trying to see as much as possible how we can unite the nations that came here by continuous collaborations and partnerships with them.
Of course, we know, as you have pointed out earlier, it will be like, you're doing arts, what other job are you doing? So can people really do the arts and the culture, and then they can actually make money out of it and survive?
Yes. Well, I made money out of it and I survived. So I always say that myself, I'm a good example. But for the young people, I would say this from the perspective of the ministry itself, the Ministry for Arts, Culture and Creative Economy, which we see ourselves as a group, including the Director Generals, the Executive Secretaries, the CEOs. We've decided that we should work together as a group to ensure that we have the support of the entire community and also to promote the young people. Nigeria has a large number of young people who are extremely creative. And if you've noticed, there's a reviving of our culture in young people. I can give an example, the clothes that I'm wearing. This has the Ariwa emblem, and Ariwa represents the north. And then if you look at the scarf on my head, it's Adire from the Yoruba culture, made by an Igbo boy called Ebuka. Do you understand? So we have a lot that can be brought out, a lot of innovations from the young people. So there are a couple of funds coming up that will continue to support. The National Institute for Cultural Orientation will be doing a lot of training. We have a lot of storytellings, and we have a lot of stories in CBAAC, in our archive, that these young people can use to tell stories. We already have a lot of people getting paid online, but their content could be deeper and could be more supportive of Nigeria, and that is where I would like to come in to ensure that we have the right kind of stories that they can push out, to also support and ensure that these stories are seen all over the world with a lot of collaborations and partnerships. I recently was in Los Angeles. I had a lot of meetings there, looking at how we can also do the back and forth, have that handshake to say we have this so number of young people that need support annually. How can we also have you, who already have the access and the world at your fingertips, also supporting us to ensure that they're out there? But you see, the beauty about Nigeria is we are global. Yeah. It's been said, I think I read a statistic the other day, 1 in 7 Black people in the world is Nigerian. 1 in 4 African people is a Nigerian. What does that say to you? We're everywhere. So we already have the outreach. We already have the community. But how do we engage this community to continue to promote our contributions to arts and civilization? That is the most important thing, I think, for me, is getting those stories out there, getting people to understand the value of our history, to also remember that Nigeria united the whole of Black and African people from all over the world. In our country, we hosted them. They were right here with us. I see no reason why we can't continue to be the country that unites the whole of Africa.
I was going to ask you, are we going to see a repeat of festac?
That would be a dream of mine, to be honest. It would be amazing if we can hold festac at 50 in Nigeria and have the global community represented here. We'll keep working towards it to see if it can happen.
What will it mean for the economy of Nigeria if we find a repeat of festac?
Oh, it would be amazing. I think a lot of people assume that having events is a waste of money, but what it does is, if you look at the economics of it, it creates temporary jobs, permanent jobs. I always say this from the perspective of when I worked as a photographer. Just because you decide to work, you can hire a lighting person, you can hire a makeup artist, you can hire a stylist. You're creating jobs just by deciding to do something in the creative space. And the beauty about the creative space is that you're creating something from nothing. With art, you can create, you can visualize. And I think in the creative and cultural space, we are all dreamers. We continue to dream and hope and see things differently while holding on to our culture. I think that's the most important thing. We can copy and do things from what we see from all over the world, but having our culture strongly backing and pushing these things, gives it more value. It gives us a sense of belonging, gives us a sense of unity. I think unity is so important, and having events like these remind us of who we are. Culturally, events is something that we normally do. And when you have an event as big as festac, what it does for the hospitality industry, for the services industry, for the young people also interacting with so many people, the networking, the connections, it changes lives, So I feel having a huge event like that, bringing the rest of the world back to Nigeria, would be such an excellent thing. And as you can see, we have better infrastructure than we did in 1977, and many of it is being rebuilt, refurbished.
Do you have a sort of national target to see that the small pockets of kinds of arts we have, that we sort of unify them for national good?
Oh, yes, of course. So we do still have the National Gallery for Arts. We still have the National Council for Arts and Culture. And that's why I said we're all working together as a team to see how we can have collaborative goals, and partnerships that can support all of us.
A lot will say that mostly the centers are between Lagos and Abuja. Other parts of the country don't really get to feel you people.
It's just, I think, the communication we would do better, engaging people in those communities, we will do better. But we're in Cross River, Lagos, Abuja, Nsukka, Zaria, Lafia. The Zaria office had been shut down, unfortunately, but we're in almost all geopolitical zones. We also have partnerships with some universities. I hope to increase more of that. I've already started engaging some of the universities to be able to have centers within the universities that can engage the young people within the universities. In our space in Lagos, we have a museum, we have an archive, and schools come to visit, and they get the lectures, the understanding of our history and civilization. In Abuja here, we have a Hall of Fame where people can visit to remember the beauty of what Festac 77 was. So I think the potential of expanding this would be so much better moving forward. We have a lot of partnerships and collaborations already happening with multilateral agencies, with government agencies, with the international community, the embassies. There's so much to be done. What we have affects everything. So I can give you an example. In our archive, we have architectural designs, old school handmade architectural designs that are absolutely beautiful. And if you look at African architecture, you have African architects that are coming back to say, we want to build the way we used to. They can come to us. Over 1,000 vinyl music, old school music tapes, vinyl records in the archive. We're trying to digitize everything. I think we're probably around 30% so far. But moving forward, it looks very good. We probably have a couple of collaborations coming up soon that will help us digitize everything. And we're looking for partners that would also support that. We have films. We have reels, over 1,300 reels from 77, and some obviously prior to that. So there's a lot that can be done with that history, and I think I'm very proud of Nigeria that we've continued to preserve all of this history, and I'm inviting as many people as possible to come through and see what we have and see how we can support you in your storytelling, whether it's in filmmaking, in music, in art, in architecture, technology. We're ready, we're open.
What would be the best means of reaching CBAAC?
Okay, so we do have an email. We have info@cbac.gov.ng. If you want to reach me directly, it's dg@cbac.gov.ng. We're available and open to collaborations and partnerships, and hopeful if you can also support to tell us how we can do things better. We're open to that too, because nobody's perfect, right? But I think we have a lot that we can do at the center, and I really look forward to working with the team. We have an excellent team on ground. We have professors, we have people who've been there 20 years, who have been working really hard to preserve and promote these items. I think one of the reasons a lot of people don't hear about CBAAC is we're always in partnership, and we allow the people to showcase the beauty of what we have in our archives. But we will do a lot more with communications moving forward. I'm looking at building on the legacy of the former DG. She did an excellent job. She's the one who created the Hall of Fame in Abuja. We didn't have that prior to that. She's done a lot of work with the cultural sector, and I look on building that legacy. So I really want to appreciate her for supporting me in the 2-3 months prior to when I started. I obviously want to say thank you to the minister, Barrister Hannatu Busawa. She gets it. She's a minister that understands the sector, and bringing the kind of people she's brought on board as Director Generals, I think we have a lot of synergy, and we should be able to do more with the sector. For the young people in Nigeria, I have to say thank you. Thank you to the young people in Nigeria for constantly reminding me why I started out as a creative and where I am today. And to the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve in a sector that I'm truly passionate about. And because of this passion, I think we will succeed.
Okay.
By God's grace.
Thank you, yeah, of
Thank
course,
you
by
so
God's
much,
grace,
Leah.
for coming on the
Thank you.
program.
Thank
And I
you.
wish you all the best.
And congratulations on your new studio. It's
Thank you.
absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
I look forward to doing a lot of work with you.
My name is Aldo Mekori.
Keep watching The Policy with Leah.
It aims to provide policymakers an opportunity to explain their policies in a way that members of the public affected by those policies can understand and engage with those policies.
Keep watching The Policy with Leah.
Last week, we simplified credit guarantees, and this week, we're simplifying letter of credit. You need to know the difference, especially if you were seeking financial assistance or financial interventions in your business. And from there, we're going to take you straight up to the local commodities market. For more on rates from markets across the country, do well to log on to our sister website, www.marketnigeriatv.com. We have all the details for you there. Don't forget also to keep following us, subscribing and liking on YouTube at Saban Media Services. We have all the previous episodes and this one there for you. We value your feedback, so keep the questions, comments and suggestions coming. Until I come your way again, same time next week, I remain Leah Katung-Babatunde saying have a beautiful weekend and God bless Nigeria.